Today, I'm going to be walking you through how to set up a portfolio or a landing page using AI. I'll be using Cursor. I'm going to walk you through the step-by-step process. And you want to actually have a GitHub portfolio. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the repository section. You would go to github.com. I'll do a new tab, github.com. You have my repository, Brandon Todd Jackson. I'm going to create a new repository. I'm going to call it Portfolio V2 because I recorded for 30 minutes and didn't have this saved. This is going to be a private repository, and I am going to add a README and a git ignore. The git ignore, actually, I'll wait for the git ignore, but I'm gonna go ahead and create this repository. And now you have the repository. If you needed to link to it in Cursor, you go to code over here and you copy the name of this repository. The next thing that I would do, I will go ahead and go into Cursor. I am going to start a new project. This is basically where I got to in the 30 minutes pre-recorded, but I'm gonna just create a new window and I'm going to connect and clone from a repo. I can take this HTTPS, this URL, basically this URL is the URL for the platform for the GitHub repository. I'm going to clone this, and it's going to ask me, where do you want to place this? And I'm going to just do desktop, and I'm going to select a repository destination. It's cloning the repository, and it's asking me if I want to open it. And now you have a blank repository. The goal today is, my name is Brandon Todd Jackson. I am transitioning from data science into more of an AI systems architect role, helping people build digital products for a fraction of the cost and a fraction of the time, using pretty much a proven workflow. The two tools that I've gone through so far is GitHub and Cursor. And Cursor is an IDE. Essentially what that means is it's an interface where you have access to multiple AI agents. So you have Composer. This is Cursor 2.0. Basically, they have their own AI agent that's a lot faster than all of these other agents that you would have to pay for. And when I say agent, I'm talking about a large language model. Here you can access GPT-5, you can access Claude, Grok. Grok is free. So Grok is the Tesla models, not Tesla, but basically, what's Rocket Man? What's his name? Elon Musk. And today I'll just be using Cursor. They do give you the ability to run in parallel processing to where you can run multiple models at the same time. I actually don't want to do that for today because it complicates things. And it's the first thing that I'm going to do. I'm going to actually cheat a little bit because I already set up a project. I'm actually go to my LinkedIn page and I'm going to copy down basically what I did. I copied down all of my recommendations that I received over the years. And then I went into Claude and I created a project called Portfolio. And essentially, if you go to projects, all you have to do is create a new project and it'll ask you a few questions. It has memory. Only I have access to my memory. You have the instructions and then you have the files. I dropped in my resume so that it has context of who I am and what I do. And then basically from LinkedIn, I gave it all of my recommendations, just copied and pasted, and I asked for it to create a markdown file. That markdown file is what Cursor is going to use to actually read and understand what's going on. As a programming language, it's like Python or TypeScript, JavaScript. It's just a documentation markdown language. Markdown language is what makes things pretty in Gmail, so to say. It's the front end. Like you have CSS for the actual design of the web page and the text that is in like the 4 brackets, hashtags, and you have a title, and then you have 3 hashtags and you have a subtitle. But this is essentially what this is. I took my recommendations from LinkedIn, I passed it to Claude, and I said, hey, create a markdown file. And the reason why I did that is because I want to create a folder called context where I bring in everything that I need the system to understand. Since I'm starting from scratch, again, just to show this full build process, I'm just going to take and copy this folder. So I'm gonna copy, boom, and then I'm gonna paste. And now in here, I have the context recommendation.md, and then I'm going to leave everything else. And then I'm gonna take the public folder as well. Bam, public folder. Essentially all the public folder is, these are images of me that are actually going to go on the website. And then the next thing that I did, I went to either Perplexity or ChatGPT and asked, hey, let me go to Perplexity, let this load, and it says, I'm trying to build authority and a landing page or a personal portfolio that shows all of the things that I am doing in AI as an AI systems architect. Can you use first principles to give me the outline and the structure of a highly converting personal portfolio that serves as a lead magnet for people to book calls and to see what type of services that I can offer? It gave me a breakdown, first principles, strip down the site to only the essentials. Every section must serve a clear function, authority, value, conversion. Information hierarchy should start with a powerful client-focused proposition followed by clear evidence of capability and results. Then it says, I need a hero section. I need the problems. And so the cursor rules is essentially saying, what is the primary colors and the things that I want? What do I need to have enforced? This version 1, it goes through the rules, and then it has the layout, the first principles, generate the hero section. So everything that you saw in Perplexity, it has it in here. And just to make sure that I do this thing consistently, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna pull this information, and then I'm gonna drop it in here as well. Cursor rules, the recommendation. So all you're doing is putting an @ and then you can cursor rules and an @ and then you can reference the folders that you have in this file. And then I'm gonna add public. I'll just copy the path and I'll say, here are some images that you can use. Another thing that is very important is if you go to Cursor and you go to settings, you can go to Cursor settings, MCP server. The MCP server is basically a universal remote control to other applications, meaning that from Cursor, I can tap into Active Pieces, which is a workflow tool. I can tap into Neon, which is a database. NAN is another workflow automation tool. Stripe is for payment processing. And then Apify for scraping social profiles, Instagram, browser MCP. I am going to use the browser MCP, but I see that there's an issue with it right now, but I'm gonna turn it off. PageIn is to create AI avatars. Ref is to go out and get official documentation. But what I really want is the sequential thinking, and I'll explain what that means here in a second. I'm gonna turn everything else off because basically I'm gonna keep Firecrawl on for right now, and I'm gonna turn off Twitter. Firecrawl goes out and it pulls information from other websites. Now I'm gonna say use sequential thinking MCP. Sequential MCP says it breaks everything down step by step. Now, the first thing that I passed in here, I just updated it a little bit more. Now I'm gonna close this out, and what you'll see happening, I'm gonna close it out so you don't get distracted. I'm gonna just press go, and you can create a agent, plan, and ask. I'm gonna actually go ahead and create a plan. This way, you always have a reference of what you actually want to build. So it's planning the next move, reviewing the rules, recommendation, project structure, and available images to plan the landing page. It gives you basically, it's a thought process. It says, hey, I have this very big problem. How do I accomplish what I'm trying to accomplish? Here it's asking me, do I want to let this run every time, or do I want to put on an allow list? And for the sake of time, basically you see that the thought pattern of the AI is sequential thinking. For right now, when you first setting this up, you want to go step by step and ask it every time, but I'm going to allow this to run and I'm going to continue. Now what it says is, hey, Brandon gave me full range. I'm gonna go through a process of sequential thinking and I'm gonna figure out how do I create this landing page. It has a few questions. Do you have a Calendly URL or another booking system? Lead magnet, what should your lead magnet be? AI systems readiness checklist, free discovery session guide, or another. Case studies, should I create placeholders? Case study structure. For right now, I'm just going to say, for one, no. Calendly, I'm gonna say, I like this, AI systems checklist. And I'm gonna have downloadable PDF. And I'm just create this in Gamma. Should I create placeholder case study structures? You will fill in the details, or do you have specific project results that are included? The case studies, I'm actually going to point to other projects that I've actually built for other people. So I'm gonna say, leave this section as placeholders for other website URLs that I've built in the past. And the case studies, I want to repurpose it to say, hey, this is a case study for a website that I created and it solved this problem, solution, outcomes. And yeah, that'll be the structure. I'm using Whisper as a tool where I don't have to type everything. We may want to create a native booking system with a default Google Calendar, but I want to keep this simple. If this is going to add complexity, I will create a Calendly link. Now it's asked me a few questions. This thing is I'm finna let it rip. Now it's building it out, Next.js project, the color palette, component, headline, architecting scalable AI systems for founders and experts, case studies, process, expertise section, lead magnet section, about brand section, testimonials. Now it's asking me, do you agree with everything that I've said? I agree with it without having to read. In theory, you want to read through all of this and you want to go through multiple iterations, but I'm going to just click the build. You can do all of this with a free version of Cursor. If you were to try to do this in Lovable is going to bring out a very clean landing page, but then you still have to connect it to a backend, which Lovable is expanding, but I'm going for cost efficiency. Now it's asking a few questions. It's trying to knit the NPM. It's the package manager for this Next.js program. It's making a directory, and you will see it's starting to fill in everything that it needs. And this thing is super fast. And then npm install, it's installing all of the packages that it needs. Right now, it's going through the first thing, initializing the Next.js project, a TypeScript, Tailwind CSS. CSS is what makes it pretty on the front end and is configuring the project structure. There's a few things that's popping up over here. Would you like to add no module to get ignored? Yes. And then the screen reader use detect. Do you want to enable editor? I'm gonna just ignore that for right now. Now it's going to, out of the 11 to-dos, it has a few more things. Not only is using the sequential thinking MCP to actually build the plan, and then is to build the plan, which is sequential, but then the power of using this MCP server is that you have a double system of validation to where it is processing everything one at a time. The get ignore file, make sure you're not pushing any node module is essentially Node.js is another technology that's behind the Next.js platform. There's a lot of technical details there, but it has a lot of files. You don't want to push that to your GitHub repository because it just expands the size of the GitHub repository. You'll notice it's asking me at each step what I want to do. And that's the power of the sequential thinking, because it says, these are my thoughts, human in the loop. Can you validate if you want me to do this? It's making another directory for data. This is a placeholder for the PDF file. This is a file that I'm going to create. Again, this is a lead magnet system. It's going to create this landing page, and then I'm going to ask it to create an outline for the PDF. And then I'm just going to go to Gamma and I'm going to create a stunning PDF that uses the same color scheme as my actual application. And now it's going through and it's saying npm run build. And this is building the actual application. You have this application package, and this is the actual front end of the Next.js platform. It's creating the optimized build, and basically it's building the project to say, can this thing live and exist on the internet outside of this local environment? The build was successful. It's a Next.js project. We have Calendly link updated, lead magnets. One thing here is it chose to use Calendly. I would have had to go through OAuth within Gmail, and I would have had to set up like system scopes, but we could have made this entirely for free, but with a little bit more technical rigor. All right. And it's saying the next thing that it needs to do is npm run dev. I'm gonna tell this, I can pull up the bottom here. You can pull it up and you can drop in this code here and you can run it here. But in order to give the AI visibility of when it's building the development environment, which is going to be something that's on my local computer, it's going to give me a local host to where I can see what the website looks like. I'm going to choose and I'm going to say, hey, can you run the npm run dev here for me? I'm using the agent, but this cost. You can run it yourself and it wouldn't cost you anything, or you can use the agent so that the agent has full visibility of what you're trying to build. I'm gonna just go ahead and run this thing. I'm gonna run it, and essentially what we're anticipating right now is that the project is going to be able to open it up on one of my local host browsers. Now what I'm going to do, I'm gonna open Chrome, and so it opened Chrome for me. It's pulling it up. Boom. So you have architecting scalable AI systems and for founders and experts. It gives me all the information, e-commerce platform, data analytics dashboard, ML model development systems. It broke it out into the problem, solution, outcome. So that's basically the case studies. Then it's what is my process? Diagnose, design, deploy, and train. Book a free call. And then it has some of my testimonials. So this is pretty sleek. This is pretty cool. Boom, your boy. I like this. It picked a very good picture. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to turn on the MCP browser because this is an automation tool. I'm going to go back to Cursor, and I'm going to go back in, and what I want to do now, this is very important. This is what a lot of people fail to do. So remember, the first step is that I connected it to GitHub. So now I'm going to say, can you run git init? So git is going to be git init. Then I want to go back to my repository that I had this thing set up in, and I want to find my portfolio v2. So it's a private repository that is empty right now. The first thing that I want to do, I want to take this and I want to just reference it again. I'm copying it to the clipboard, and I'm going to paste it in here. This is where I want to init to, because now it comes into version control. You have your first version, and what most people mess up in is when they're trying to build a digital product and they're using Lovable or Bolt.new, they're not actually doing version control, and they can lose a lot of their work. And I want to run git init, and I'm telling it what repository I want to set it up for. I'm going to run this, and it says git remote. I'm finding the remote repository. I'm seeing where it is. The git repository initialized. The remote origin is already set. It's already set because I cloned it first. I created the repository, then I cloned it, and I said, here is where I want to put the files on my local computer on the desktop. And it says you can commit and push. And there's a few things you have to get ignored. Right now, we don't have any environment variables, so we don't have to worry about it just yet. But something that we're going to have to do is when we bring in a little bit of the AI systems, we're going to have to add the env, the environment file. So to clear out this command, this npm run, I'm going to do Control C, and then I'm going to copy and paste and push this. What it's doing now is it will go in and it reads everything that needs to be pushed. So the cursor rules, the app, all of the components, the hero, it pushed it all, and it's writing all of those objects to the actual repository. When this finishes, this is this first commit, so it's taking a little bit of time, and I think some of the images are larger, so usually this is a lot faster. All right, so it's 89% complete. When this completes, we should see this update. So I heard the little click, the sound, so I'm gonna refresh it. And now, boom, you have all of the files that are in your Cursor environment, and it's having it basically, the README file is the structure of your project. Looking at Cursor rules, can you make sure that we are 100% compliant using Sequential Thinking MCP? I'm going to reference at Cursor rules, and then I'm gonna press send, and I'm gonna go. Now what this is doing is double checking our work. Remember, I gave sequential thinking the ability to run on its own. So it's going through a lot of thought, and it's auditing. The man said he wanted one thing. Did we provide that? And if not, what needs to change? Oh, look, it found things that it wasn't complete. Lovable.dev and Bolt.new. You'll tell it everything that it needs, but because of a constraint in the number of tokens that it can use, and a token is an input and output, it won't give you everything on that one-shot prompt. Now what it's done is going through, and it figured out everything that was missing. It summarizes the issues, a color palette, summary of issues found. There was an issue with the color palette. Too many call to actions, 3 primary hero, lead magnet, contact should be 1 to 2 max. Case studies, missing visual aids, footer, blog updates. Okay, so now I'm going to go in and run the build again. The build is making sure that all of the code that you just created, make sure that it doesn't break the actual application. So it went in and it created everything that it needed. It has the static pages that it's updating, and it says, hey, Brandon, it gives me, am I compliant? And it gives me a full breakdown of the issues that it fixed, the color palette, the footers, first principle flow, user flow, psychology, navigation, compliant, mostly compliant, not compliant, blog updates, optional enhancement, not critical for the landing page. So it build, but there's an issue with JavaScript file. And now this is the power I'm finna see if the browser MCP tool is connected. So this is the issue with these platforms. It'll say everything's good, we're compliant, but it may miss something. In my cursor settings, I'm gonna go into cursor settings really quick, and I'm gonna go back into my tools, and I'm gonna check the browser MCP. So I'm gonna load it. Boom, it's green. Now, again, the browser MCP, this is a website automation tool. So now I'm gonna say, can you use the browser MCP and look at the local host on port 3000 and see if there are any console errors? So while that's doing that, before I press go, I'm gonna show you exactly what I'm actually trying to do now. So I got to go back in and I have to find. So essentially what I'm doing is, if you were a developer on your own, you would go in here where you would do a right click and you'll click inspect. This console is basically going to show, this is where you see what's happening behind the scenes in your website. So you have the error that pops up, but there's a little bit more detail. But now I'm gonna just click go. What will happen is that it's going to spin up a whole new website, not a whole new website, but it's going to look at URL. It's going to run. I'm going to give it the permission to run. It's going to wait a few seconds. It's letting the page load. I'm going to give it 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. It waited for 3 seconds, and then it's looking at the console errors. It got a response from it. It's taking a screenshot of the page, and it's trying to figure out no console errors, taking a screenshot to verify. Interesting. Failed to capture image. So this is just an issue with the browser MCP, which actually sucks because it's very powerful, but I'm not going to troubleshoot it right now. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead, since I have visibility to it, I know that there is an issue. I'm going to just go in and I'm going to copy and paste everything from the console. Boom. Not to waste your time, there are errors. Please resolve using, once again, Sequential Thinking MCP. Boom. So I'm going to drop this in. I'm going to let it think through what the issues are. Close this out, and you see the plan. I'm going to just close this out as well so that there's no confusion, giving it a little bit of time to think what's going on. So right now we've already have a landing page that is stood up, and we're iterating on it to make it a little bit better. It's removing some Next.js files and it's rebuilding. So basically there may have been something that was corrupt in the JavaScript file in Next.js. It's rebuilding it. The error shows cannot find modules. So basically it deleted it and re-pulled the modules, because sometimes when you update certain files, JavaScript just gets messed up. I'm not a seasoned developer, so I won't go into the technicality of it, but it says, hey, this thing is solved. Now, let me actually validate that on my own. Sorry to jump back and forth between multiple screens. I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna refresh. Missing required error components, and we're still getting 404. I'm still getting error. And now this is an important time where I'm gonna actually go to I'm gonna show you another trick of the trade. I'm gonna go back into Claude and I'm gonna ask it a question in the same project that I'm in. So in the portfolio, I'm gonna ask a question. What is first principle thinking and first principle design? Can you create a markdown file that explains every single step? So now when it comes to problem solving and triaging, you actually want to give the system a foundation and a framework to actually follow. One of the things that I really love is first principle thinking. I am going to add this as a file in the context just so that one, I have sequential thinking to help me out. But what I'm doing right now, I'm creating a markdown file that has first principle thinking as a guide for me to figure out how to actually resolve this issue. So now it's going through, it's creating the markdown file. Once it completes, once it completes, I'll open it up and show you exactly what's going on in the file. So it's almost finished. Now I'm gonna open it up and I'm gonna view my guide and I'm gonna just copy. And I'm going to go in here and in the context, I'm gonna create a new file and I'm gonna call it first principle.md. And I'm gonna drop this file in here. So very long file. You want to be careful about how much context you give a system to think through. But what I'm going to do now is I'm still getting the errors. Can you use at first principles MD and sequential thinking to resolve? And the reason why I give this is most of the times, one of the things that I like about first principles is it challenges all assumptions. So AI makes assumptions. It's very assumptive. It can get it in its own way. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna send this off and I'm gonna let it use the first principles. And now it's using sequential thinking and it's saying step one, identify and define the problem. It understands the problem and then challenge all assumptions. See, assumption dev server is running correctly. So it goes through all of the assumptions and everything that it needs to validate and verify. Now it has a very detailed approach in what she's going to use to solve this problem that we're dealing with. So again, it's removing this Next.js project and it's trying to run dev again. It's building out the local development environment. Then from here, the next step that it'll probably do is run the npm run build again. So you have the local versus the production. So it's running. Give it a second. And this is the real workflow. This is what you go through. We're 36 minutes in, and this is essentially more progress than on your own that you will be able to make compared to sending this off to someone who's going to charge you X amount of dollars per hour. You can build this thing on your own if you follow this process. It's still running in background. It's going through the same process again, and that's okay. I'm going to let this think for a second. Now we're going to run the dev is running in background. So now it picked it up on another server. So we were on another port. We were on 3000, but now we're on 3001 and there's a disconnect. So now we need to put the 3001 and see what's going on. And it's running a curl command. So it's just pinging the internet, it's pinging the website and it's seeing if there's an issue. So what I'm going to do, fail to connect to the local port. Let's see. Now we're back up and going. The issue has been resolved. We have everything that we need, the case studies. I cleaned it up a little bit. So now stage and commit modified files push to remote. Now it's pushing to the origin main. So we have a new checkpoint. Now we know that if we move forward and we mess up, we can go back and fix any issues that pop up. So now what I'm going to do, I'm gonna go back into my repository and you will see that I have two commits. I have the commit that basically 39 minutes ago, then you have 16 minutes ago, and then you have just now, and it's still, I need to change this. I'm doing some consulting for Finances Demystified, and it's is pushing through their repository as I'm signed in, but I'll fix that. Basically, we have a functioning website. There are some issues in terms of the images that I have on the web page. It's slowing down some of the performance, but I'm not worried about that right now. Now, the next thing that I want to do is I want to show you how to actually deploy this to Vercel. Vercel. So now I'm going to log out, and then I'm going to continue with Gmail, and I'm going to log into Vercel. And Vercel is basically when you have something on your local computer and you want to expose it to the internet for other people to access. Now, back in Cursor, I've gone through a few commits. I have a landing page that looks pretty nice. I'm going to create another chat, and I'm going to ask it, can you log out of Vercel and log in? So there's an assumption that I made that Vercel is already logged in. I have a CLI imported into this environment. And if you don't, it'll tell you and it'll say, hey, you need to download it. So I'm logging out. So the fact that it picked up the CLI, the command, it's like a command interface tool connecting to Vercel. I'm going to log in. So press enter to open the browser, waiting on authentication. So there's a concept of interactive, and you can't do that like an interactive command. You can't do that within the agent. So I'm going to click this open an external terminal. And it says Vercel login. Open up a new terminal, visit Vercel device. I'm going to copy this. Make sure you don't have the extra space at the end. I'm going to click on here and I'm going to open it. It'll open it up in Safari. And since I copied it, it already has it. And so I'm going to allow. And authorization was successful. You just want to make sure what project you are in. So we can close this tab. And then I can jump back over into Vercel. And you're logged in. So you're good to go. So now I'm going to say, can you create a new project in Vercel for this portfolio and push to Vercel? So now what it's doing is logged in through the CLI to this other application, and it's going to run a few commands for me. So it's loading the scopes and it's deploying to b.jackson, Gmail, whatever it's deploying. When it completes, I'll be able to go to Vercel. Vercel is just a hosting platform. Anytime you have a website or application, it has to be hosted somewhere. Vercel is good for serverless functions. So if you have edge functions that are running like AI on like just a function call, it's good for that. But if you had something that needed a long running AI application with a lot of compute and processing, you may want to use Railway. Now it's building. It's the first time it's connected to the project. It's deploying and now it's building. So that NPM build, that local version, that's making sure that when you're actually building in a hosted server, that the thing can actually build as well. It's building. I'm going to let this thing, it's probably going to take 2 to 3 minutes for this to happen. We're 45 minutes in. We already have something that is pretty amazing in terms of we have a landing page. It has some baseline functionality. We didn't check to make sure that all the routes and the pages were correctly set up, but we'll validate that after I show you the full life cycle of taking something from your local computer, because it wasn't a real website. Whenever you're in Chrome, you see this local host. This is saying that it's hosted on your local computer. So I can't give this URL to somebody else. They won't be able to access it. But what I'm doing through Vercel, I'm making sure that someone else can access it. Now I see Portfolio V2. I can click in on this. And now I actually have a URL that someone else can go and access. Anyone on the internet, I now have this thing hosted on the internet. That is how you create the project. But now you want to click into this V2 and domains. This is where now you actually want to, I have a website. It's Brandon toddjackson.com is hosted on GoDaddy. So I'm gonna go over to GoDaddy really quick. So GoDaddy domains, log in. Please let me log in. Over here, I have Brandon Todd Jackson. So I'm gonna just go and I'm gonna copy this and I'm gonna let the AI know I have a personal website that I want to connect to the Vercel deployment. Can you help me set up the DNS records? Reviewing project structure, then outlining DNS setup steps. In Vercel dashboard, go to your project settings, domains, and add Brandon Todd Jackson. I'm gonna go to Vercel, and then I'm gonna go to settings, and I'm gonna go to domains, and then I'm gonna add a domain. Boom. And it's gonna redirect to www. Okay, and I am going to save. So right now it has an invalid configuration, and that's just because I don't have the DNS record set up. What I'm going to do now in GoDaddy, I'm going to take these records. So I'm gonna go back to GoDaddy. I'm gonna open this up, and then I'm gonna go to the DNS section. I'm gonna add a new record, and then I'm gonna choose the A, and it's gonna be the @ I just remember this because I just saw it. And then we're going to copy this value and I'm going to save. Actually, let me see if I need to set up anything else. So I need to set up two things. So before I do that, I'm going to take the CNAME as well. So I'm going to add more records. I'm going to do a CNAME. And then it's going to be www in the name. And then I'm going to copy this value. And this is so that Vercel can pick it up as a reference. And then I'm going to save all records. It's going to ask the CNAME record conflicts with another record. Okay. So this is why you delete stuff. I'm going to delete these things. GoDaddy parks it. I'm going to delete it for right now. Yes, I want to confirm. Continue. Just going to ask for verification. Sent me a text message. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to add these records again. So I know I have A, I know I have a @ and I'm going to copy this value. And then I'm going to add more records. I'm going to add the CNAME, www. So CNAME, www, and I'm going to add this value. I think it's time to load. Not 100% sure, but then I'm going to save all the records. It should go through. It's just going to ask for verification once again. And it sent me another text message. Verify this code. So it was a success. Now what happens, you go back to Vercel, you go find it, and in a few minutes, you'll see it starting to refresh. It refreshes it until it picks up the configuration. So it's waiting. It'll cycle through a few times, and then probably in 2 to 3 minutes, it'll pick up the fact that the connection has been made with the GoDaddy and it's pulling this in. So now you see that we have a fully functioning website that we built in less than an hour. It has everything that we need from a boilerplate template, and you can iterate and you can scale over time. The next thing that you actually want to do is you want to go into Cursor and we want to close other chats. Then we want to add, can you use Sequential Thinking MCP and do a full audit of the website to make sure that there are no broken routes? And then it properly links back to my LinkedIn and it has my email. Now I'm going to just do the email. I'm going to have Brandon at Data Jackson. This is just for now. And then LinkedIn, it should be, let me go get my LinkedIn profile, https://www.linkedin.com/n/Data Jackson. I'm gonna actually need to change this. Nope, it's still Data Jackson. So I will need to update that because now I'm trying to build my authority. But for now, I'm gonna use Data Jackson, and then I'm gonna do something sleek as well, just to show you to finish this out in a 4 hours. In the last 4 minutes, I'm gonna show you how to make a change locally and then push to remote. And then in Vercel, I need to connect it to the GitHub. So the next time that I commit, it automatically pushes it to the live website. So I'm gonna do one thing. Also, can you import Framer motion so that the website loads more dynamically, and make sure that it's fully mobile optimized? Also, make sure that Framer is actually installed. I'm gonna go ahead, process this. And while this processes, I'm gonna hop over back to Vercel, and I'm gonna connect my database. So you see Brandon Todd Jackson, everything's connected, everything's green. Now I'm gonna go to Git, and I'm gonna connect it to GitHub so that whenever I have some naming misconfigurations that I need to fix. Connect to GitHub repository. Adjust. Okay. I'm gonna adjust the permissions really quick. That's why. All right. I need to sign out and sign in. And I'm gonna do connect with. That's why it was showing me pushing from another profile into my GitHub repository. That's not clean, but right now I'm just connecting my actual repository to it, to Vercel. Now I'm connected to GitHub. I'm gonna go back to Vercel and just close that out. It's connected. And then I'm gonna refresh Vercel. There we go. Brandon Todd Jackson, configure. I'm giving Vercel all the rights. I'm just giving access to all repositories. So GitHub is installed, and then I'm gonna connect it to Portfolio V2. So now that I'm connected Vercel to my repository, I can jump back into the portfolio, and now it's updated everything. Mail at Brandon Jackson. All right. So now I'm going to do one more thing. I'm gonna stage and commit. Can you stage and commit modify files and push to remote? So now that I've done this, it's two things are going to happen. It's going to push this to my repository. I've allowed the Git commands to be automated on the allow list. You really don't want to do that, but that's for the sake of speeding up this call or this recording. So now when I go back to the commit history and I'm gonna do a refresh, you'll see, oh, I think I have all checks have failed. Vercel, Git author finance must have access to the project on details. I can fix this really quick. Just be honest with the AI. Hey, the commit failed because I was logged into Vercel when we initially deployed this on another GitHub account, but I need this to be connected to my b.jackson.com GitHub. Can you resolve this error so that the commit properly flows? Link to a different account. The Git push succeeded, but Vercel may not be watching this repo. Check authentication. Okay, so no, you should say Vercel. So the Vercel directory is linked to the wrong account. Unlinking the local Vercel project, then we'll reconnect to your, okay. So these things happen. Which repository should we connect? Or different? All right, yeah, connect to this one. Connect to. So now we're linking it. Error Vercel requires confirmation. Loading scope. Link to. All right. Remote the project. I'm successfully linked. Verify the Git remote and that it points to the correct repository. Push origin, dry run. Everything is up to date. All right. So now this is the last step